Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and you're all very welcome to the latest edition of Blogging Warfare. This week we have a very special guest on the show with us, but before introducing him, I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host. Introducing Carolyn Capern. Carolyn, please jump on and say hello to our ever-expanding global audience.
Hey everybody, greetings from Orlando, Florida. Those of you who are up north, please forgive me. I live down here and I'm very grateful for the weather right now, but even more importantly, I'm very excited to have Wade back on the show. He was one of our original co-founders, so we are thrilled to have him back.
It's true. Wade was one of the original co-founders, so for those of you who missed out on the glory days or the early days of this show, we're going to be able to kind of reel in the good old times and relive yesteryear with Wade on the show. And one of the new recruits to the Blogging Warfare team is Thomas. Thomas, say hello to our ever-expanding global audience.
Hello, ever-expanding global audience. I love how Rob says, those of you who might remember Wade from back when he was part of this show, those were our glory days. Now let me get to the other but no, I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to messing with Wade again twice this week. I get to pick on Wade, so it doesn't get much better than that.
Indeed, it doesn't get much better than that, and we're definitely going to pick his brain today, as we always do, because the topic of this week's show is Attaining the Unattainable with the one and only Wade Harman, and we've said, how can we help you guys get some success, both online and offline, using relationship marketing? So we said, well, let's go to the relationship marketing expert, as we went and we got him on the show. So Wade, please introduce yourself to our audience and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Rob and Thomas and Carolyn, nice to be here. Nice to see everybody again. It's good to be back on this show. I miss hanging out with you guys. I really have enjoyed the past glory days of yesteryear and yawn and therefore. And I love how Rob says those words. It feels like I'm back in the medieval times. But no, my name's Wade Harman. I run WadeHarman.com. I've been blogging for about 4 years now. And I have a little show called Relationship Marketing that's on iTunes and here on Google Hangouts as well. So I kind of try to make the best of both audiences, both worlds, and just chugging right along. Thanks for having me, you guys.
We're glad to have you here, Wade, but it's not going to be an easy chug-a-thon fest for you, and there might be some more medieval use of language and all sorts of barbarity like that. But what I want to get into first is just to paint the picture for the audience. How did you actually come to be the relationship marketing enthusiast, as you like to call yourself? You started somewhat differently. It wasn't an online realm, but it was more of an underground realm, as you were a minor originally. So how did you go from minor to CCO of Wheel Media?
Oh man, that's such a long story. I don't think we have time for all that, but I have no idea. I mean, I went from working in the coal mines for 10 years. Even went in and to a little while I was working in the coal mines. The very first year I was working at the coal mines, they sent me to a little community college to get my electrician certificate. And so I was dedicated and committed to this job. Went to school to do this job, and I was good at it. I could fix stuff and had a great job too. Underground in this particular mines that I worked at, it had railroad tracks, and they gave each one of the electricians what they call a man bus. So basically, what that is, it's a diesel car that you give it gas, so to speak, or you pull back and you can go reverse. Them things will fly, man. And then so what I did was just run the rails all day long and fix CO monitors. Pie job. And but of course I had to work my way up to that. That was the past 3 years of my career. But I was in the mines and having fun. It's a fun job. It's hard work, but your first couple of years you kind of get used to it, and then after that you're just it's your daily thing. You don't really think about it. But I got hurt in the coal mines. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to ask me something?
Well, I was just going to say it was your daily thing until it wasn't your daily thing, and then you had to pivot quite significantly from being underground to being online. So how did you kind of make that transition? And just kind of, because I've heard this story before, and it's kind of one thing that I've always wondered is, did any of the skills that you have, from being a miner and obviously being a real human person in the real world, but did any skills that you have translate directly to your early days when you were online?
No, none. I mean, just aside from what you said, just being a human and just being Wade, I took that with me, and I've always been good at talking to people, and for some reason I have that face that people want to talk to me, and so I've been good at listening. I've been good at making friends, and so that's really the only thing I took from one area of industry to the blogging industry. But yeah, it was got hurt in the coal mines, and then there I was with nothing. I had a family to provide for, and then of course, as many people know this story already, I just went into blogging and tried to make some money that way. But as far as doing what I'm doing now, I had no intentions of being in relationship marketing. I had no idea there was such a thing as relationship marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wade, I got a question for you, because I also I know that you were a coal miner, and I know that you made this transition to being really, in many ways, the voice of relationship marketing in a lot of circles. But I also know that somewhere in this spectrum, you actually went in, did a master's degree in cognitive psychology, and really focused on not just, well, let me kind of hop in here and be friendly with people, which you are friendly, but you actually went in and studied how do relationships work, and how does the human psyche work, and in these connections. Where in this spectrum did this master's degree come in, and did you do that intending to link that in with your marketing efforts, or did that just sort of happen to correlate that you discovered later?
Well, to be honest with you, the psychology aspect was something that I've always been interested in. I've always been intrigued with the way the human brain, the human psyche, the subconscious, and all of that correlates. When we sleep, we send messages to ourselves that we have no idea. We can't retrieve them. And so you could be unlocking the mysteries of the world while you're asleep, and you have no idea that you're doing it. And so see, that really intrigued me to want to know more about that. So as I was in the coal mines, and this was before I got married, had a family, I had thousands of dollars. I was making almost $30 an hour in the coal mines. I was 21 years old, and didn't have nothing to spend my money on. I live in Richlands, Virginia. There's nothing to do here. So I took an online class, and that's the way I got my cognitive psychology degree. It was through a series of night classes. Whenever I'd come home, I'd throw in the DVD and do my classes, do my notes, and we would communicate back and forth with the teacher. But I'm glad I did it now. It was because of my love for the brain and the human psyche that I went into that field. But little did I know how much that was really going to help me later on in life, because about 6 years later there was going to be a U-turn in my life that I wouldn't be prepared for, and it was going to help me just kind of open the road.
That's fascinating how that comes around full circle.
Yeah, and that's another reason that if you're positive in life, and I don't know how many of you have ever read The Secret, or you've ever heard that a positive outlook brings back positive things to you. I thought that was bullcrap, really. But when the more I studied into this, and the more I started doing, I did a thesis up in Radford, and I had to study these people that were almost literally comatose from mentally debilitating things in their brain, and they would speak things that were crazy. But how did they know this stuff? I mean, that's what. And so if you put positive things out there, positive things, it's going to come back to you. And so, like you said, it come full circle. I kept the positive attitude that I had, knowing that it doesn't matter. I think I saw a quote that Denise Wakeman put on Google Plus today. It says, "You can't make a good footprint tiptoeing around all over the place. You can't be scared of everything. Make the mistake. And that was my mantra, because I made tons of mistakes when I first started. But I understood that if I kept plowing ahead, kept the positive attitude, that it was going to come full circle anyway. And that's what happened.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think those of us who follow you on Google Plus definitely are familiar and appreciative of the way you conduct yourself on the platform. But I wanted to ask you, since we've been talking about psychology, when you first got started as a blogger and as you've matured as a blogger and relationship marketer, how has your psychology degree helped you? So what are some of the core principles that you took from that to help you first get started and now improve as you go?
Oh, one of the things that really intrigued me as well was that everything, well, 90% of everything that you do is linked to an either emotional or logical response. And so I started to study, do my own personal study about how we can affect people on the platform. What makes someone +1? What makes someone click a link? And of course, you know, everybody has seen the studies of visual marketing and why it's good to have a visual image. It captures the eye. We hear that and we just go on. But there's a deeper psychological inside of us. The reason that we're actually those trigger responses that we're reacting to, there's something in our brains that's catching that, and it's bringing that psyche full circle to want to read more. And then I also studied that you could, in a headline, you could use one of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. And that also triggers a response in the human brain. So it was with a couple of those things as I started studying that and started seeing that some of the things that I were putting out there was just totally wrong, was not the right thing to do. So I cleaned it up and I rewrote some of the things and put it back out there. And that same post that got 3 or 4 +1s, and I put it back out there and redid it. Now it was getting 15 to 20 +1s and more engagement. People were commenting now. And so it's an interesting study as to how, you know, people react on social.
And just kind of on that, I have a follow-on question. But before I go to that follow-on question, I just want to give a big shout out to the audience. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in and some of the questions that are starting to flow in now. And also, Denver Prophet, apologies if my mic or if there's a bit of reverb again on my microphone. I'll look into getting that sorted for the next show. But I also see we've got Missy J, Stan Bush, Coach G in the audience, Dave Pipe, and a few others as well. And we have a question there, which I'll go to a little bit later. But first, what I want to touch on now, Wade, is the kind of your relationship marketing expertise and prowess. You're known by default at this stage as a relationship marketing expert. I know you prefer to be known as the enthusiast, but unfortunately the moniker is going to stick because you are pretty much the expert when it comes to relationship marketing. So on what I'd like to know, and I think it would be useful for some of the audience, is what do you do, or what is your kind of process, or what steps, practical steps, do you have when you are trying to approach somebody who may be, for want of a better term, a target for some of your relationship marketing techniques?
Oh man, this is such a hard question. When I was doing Thomas's show, Social Theory, he kind of asked me the same. He didn't ask me the same question, but it was kind of roundabouts. What is your process? What do you? And it's almost like the term marketing is a bad word. We discussed this. So I don't really look at it as a type of strategy. I want to get to know Rob, so I got to do steps 1 through 5 before Rob is going to do anything for me. And relationship marketing, the generic response for relationship marketing, it was first defined as a form of marketing that was developed from a direct response marketing campaigns. So it was these big businesses that was emphasizing customer retention. So it wasn't really trying to get to know somebody one-on-one. But whenever I think about relationship marketing, it's It's marketing that's you. And I said this on Thomas's show. It's heart marketing, pure heart marketing. And and I'll give you a tip. Mary Smith is probably the expert on relationship marketing, even more than I am. I wouldn't even be in the same league. But one of the things that I try to do whenever I want to, I don't want to call it marketing. I don't want to call it marketing. But one of the things that I try to do is be visible on someone's radar. If I want to eventually ask somebody to be on my show that is really high up. I mean, I've even had email conversations with Seth Godin, believe that or not. But if and it didn't happen overnight. He didn't just email me back because I just sent him one email. It was commenting on blogs and commenting on social streams and trying to interact in places where he is at and where he's going to be. If you're close to an event and you know that person's going to be there, spend the money and go to the event. Now, you don't have to. I'm not saying social marketing world is not the place to go. It definitely is the place to go. But I understand that a lot of people may not have the funds to go to a big event such as that. But look around your area. I know North Carolina has got one that Mark Trapagan goes to all the time. Big influencer. $50. It'll cost you $50 to go. And find those people. Let them shake your hand. Let them get to know who you are. And it's just getting visible, staying on their radar right at first. That should be the first goal. And you shouldn't expect anything the first 2 or 3 months.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question to that, way to drill down just a little bit deeper, because if we step outside sort of this realm of networking and building connections in order to improve our visibility or marketing or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If we strip, I think when we wrap it in that framework, we often it leads to behaviors and things that we probably normally wouldn't do. So if we remove that, which I think is what you're getting at with your pure heart marketing, it helps reframe the discussion around building genuine relationships. But that raises a further question in that some people are naturally good at connecting with other people. Some people, Carolyn Capern is this way. She goes out somewhere and she just makes connections with whoever's out there, and she knows their life story. Other people go out there, and when they interact, that interaction is very tenuous and it's almost awkward. So can you give us just some of these sort of relationship tips in terms of making some of these connections online that help us avoid some of those sort of awkward mistakes that kind of turn people away from wanting to interact with us and move us toward that more approachable demeanor that allows us to connect with people while still being genuine?
Yeah, and this is hard for me sometimes because I have a problem that when I get into a public place, it's not that I don't want to talk to people. It's just that I'm a quiet person, and I say more on my shows than I do in my everyday household. They say a man's got a 3,500 word or a 35,000 word vocabulary a day, and a woman's got 80,000 word vocabulary a day. But I would say even mine would cut that in half, man. But if you're a quiet person, but you still know how to be friendly, and you know what to do and you know what not to do, it's the same. It's social media. It's a social setting, and one of the things that I think that helps me to reach out to people is the fact that I do try to push past the quietness of who I am and open up and be the social butterfly. Don't just plus one somebody. If you have a relevant comment or a good comment for social, get in the conversation. Mick Sharp does this perfectly, and he curates content every Friday, and he tells people about the content. And what happens? 150 comments. That's, I don't know how many he gets, but he gets a lot, and it's because he kind of works at it. He does work, and then he gets the engagement. So it's just like it's just like that. You have to do the work to get the engagement, and I believe that work is consistent with you being that social butterfly, you being friendly and outgoing. It's just, a man that has friends has to show himself friendly, and there's no truer saying than that statement right there.
Okay. I like that. So connect this for me in a practical way, because Denver Prophet has a great question, and I think that the setting of his question really allows what we've just been discussing to come out in a real way. He wants to know if you can share the story of how you met Jay Bear.
Oh yeah, that's a good story. Well, okay, so everybody's heard of Jay Bear. If you've been in blogging for a year, you've heard of who he is and his expertise and just how great a speaker. Man, he blowed me away at PubCon. But anyway, so I'd heard of Jay Bear, but I never really spoke to him or interacted with him. He was just getting on Google Plus about a year and a half ago, and I was seeing some of his stuff in the streams, and I was noticing that he was typing in his description. He was giving the picture, giving the link, and then he was typing, check this out, and then see it. And he was getting, he was getting 12, 15 plus ones, and he was getting the engagement because of who he was. And it was just driving me crazy, though. Don't tell him this, but it was driving me crazy. So the next time he posted this, I took a screen capture of his picture and of his post, the little square Google Plus update, and then I underlined he said, check this out. I underlined that, and I reshared it on Google Plus. And then I went on to plus mention him in the description. I said, now I understand that people like Jay Bear doesn't really need to give us a long description. He don't really need to sell himself to me, because I've seen what he does. I've heard word of mouth of what he does. I've seen video. I've seen his blog. There's all kinds of trust around this man. So he doesn't really need to say more than just check this out. And I was more or less using him as an example to tell people that you need to say a little bit more in your description. Be more friendly. I mean, when you write your descriptions, I have a bad habit sometimes when I'm in a rush to just do one-liners and then put the link in and hit send. Well, that's not going to get as much engagement. If you really take the time and the thought to write out that post that you want shared or engaged on, then people are going to engage on it. If you just buzz through it real fast, it's going to be, that's what you're going to get. And so I used him as an example, and he came to my post and he said, am I doing it wrong? And I said, whoa, this is nothing against you at all. This is, and I can find that post. I'll put it in the link later. You guys can see it. Something to the effect of, I'm not trying to call you out at all, Jay. I'm just showing people what not to do. And he said, well, I would like to know, because, and as the expert he is, he wanted to better himself on Google Plus. So what he did was he took that share off, and we kind of talked him through what he needed to write, how he needed to say it, just put some more thought into it. And he rewrote the post, put the link back in, and bam, right away he got like 50 plus ones, so many comments, and later him and I were talking, and that opened the door for me to engage with him again and communicate with him further, because he remembered who I was. And so from that point on, it's all downhill from there, as they say.
I think that's a good way of starting to strike up a relationship. If you actually take the first step to actually kind of go and help somebody, especially get their attention by sharing one of their posts in the first instance, that can be a good way to establish a relationship. But say once the relationship has been established, or it's in the early tentative stages of it, are there any kind of, I'm not going to call them psychological ploys, well, I just did, but are there any psychological ploys that you like to kind of use to try, I don't know, give you the upper hand, or to give you slightly better odds in getting a better outcome of the relationship?
This is the espionage portion of blogging
Yeah.
warfare.
What secrets do you know with it?
I can't say that I do. I really don't. I'm just me. I'm a quiet person, but I'm very friendly. And if you want to talk to me, just come talk to me. I don't have any underlying meaning or underlying thing. When Jay actually responded to me, I immediately was like, this guy should be on my show. And from that point on, but I wanted to be his friend. Who doesn't want to be friends with Jay Bear? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and to back up for what you were saying earlier, some influencers are going to be harder to reach. Think about it. They've already got their group of friends cultivated. They've already set their goals and attained their goals and been there. Now they're striking for that big industry business type commitment and things like that. So a lot of influencers aren't going to make the first move to you. Mm-hmm. And it is up to you to make that first move on most of the influencers that I've seen. Most of the ones that I've built relationships with and in the past, I've been the one that got the ball rolling.
Well, and wait, I mean, you say that there aren't like special things that you do, that you're just Wade, and I know that that's true, but there are also things that you do. They've become so ingrained with you that you don't think about it, like what you did with Jay Bear, where you say, well, here's this way of interacting, and then there's this way of interacting, which is a little more effective. When you connect with people, and this Jay thing was a fantastic example, you look to be beneficial. You're not just like small. It's not just chit chat when you're connecting with other influencers. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, most definitely.
How can I be beneficial to them?
Most definitely. You have to approach, and that's perfect. You just help me remember. It is so ingrained that I kind of forget what I'm doing. But if you can come in and, like Thomas said, be beneficial or helpful in some way, maybe they need a lower third, or maybe somebody needs a blog image that you can fix, or whatever it might be. If you see something that could benefit them, say, hey, this is the way you do it, or here's what I've done. Feel free to use it. If you don't want to use it, no problem. You won't bother me a bit. I just wanted to help you. That's the best first ways to get started. You're right.
All right. Well, let's go to a couple of audience questions here. Let me pull them up. Denver wants to know that you do speaking engagements, and he wants to know what your best story is from someone who came to one of your talks and applied your advice.
I was in Tulsa last year at Social Media Tulsa, and was speaking on Google Plus posting strategies, and there was a lady in there that was a little bit older than the rest of us, and she, of course, she was just getting involved, and everybody in Tulsa, when I approached them with the Google Plus speech, they was like, nobody uses Google Plus. And I said, well, let me show you why you should. And so I was the only person that spoke about Google Plus out of, 30 presenters. And so nobody was using Google Plus. I had a full audience of Twitter users or Facebook users, which that's okay if that's where your audience is, but for people that are just getting started out, maybe they want to dip their toe in the water of Google Plus. So what I did was I just kind of showed her some things, and she picked up the posting stuff really well, like some of the stuff I told Jay, and then I started to go into the relationship marketing aspect of it, and how it's not about you on Google Plus. It's not about you on any social media platform. It's about how you can help your followers. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your content is going to help them every time. So that's why you have to go out, spend at least 30 minutes a day curating someone else's content. Find a big group of posts that you can share out for the day. If you need to buffer them, do so, or whatever it may be. Share out some helpful things that you think your audience wants, and that will build that trust. And so I get an email probably 4 months ago, and the lady gave me her Google Plus and wanted me to see how she was doing, and she's getting tons of engagement, and she says it was all because of that. But anybody can do this if you just take enough time to be yourself and stop thinking about driving traffic to your site and making money and helping others. You've got to start thinking about helping others. And when you kind of get that in your mind, push the bad stuff out and bring the good stuff, bring the positive stuff in, that's when positive things are going to help you. Now let me go down a rabbit hole right here, Thomas. When you start thinking about making money, what happens? You get stressed out. I got to pay this bill. I got to do this. And stress is a negative emotion. So when you're worried about making money on your blog or getting traffic on your blog, or your blog's not optimized for mobile, when you're worried about all that stuff, not to say that that's not important, but when you're worried about that, it does cause these negative things. So push that out of your mind and focus on being helpful. What can help people today? That brings positive energy into your following, into your blog. People start trusting you more. You'll start building more relationships.
I think we have some evidence of the relationships that you've built here. As we've got a question, and I suppose a statement of concern from Stan Bush. He says, I want him being you, Wade, I want him to know that everyone here cares for you. He sounds like you have a bit of a cold, so he's giving you some advice to have some water or throat lozenge and make sure you stay healthy. But he also has a question, so you're not going to get off the hook that easily. He wants to know, do you have an editorial calendar? And if you do you follow to the T, or is there a little bit of flexibility? And if you ever have to do a post, or if you're ever affected by a post that you read somewhere, will you deviate from your editorial calendar? So in other words, do you store some of those articles for publishing later, or do you stick to your editorial?
I have tons of stuff in Evernote, and I'm sorry, Stan. Yeah, I do have a cold, and for some reason I've lost my voice. Now, this is another rabbit trail. This is crazy because a week and a half ago I had this, and then I got over it, and then my kids got it, and then I got it again from them. So, crap. Anyway, so nope, I don't have anything around me to drink. But I have tons of posts that I start in Evernote. And I write everything in Evernote, and I do have an editorial calendar that I stick to. I'm always writing. I do writing exercises every day. I think that's one of the most important things for me and my blog is to beef up my writing, because I struggle as a writer, and the way that I can get better is to just keep writing. And stuff I put on Jay Baer's site or stuff I put on Social Media Examiner, that doesn't necessarily have a calendar. Jay usually takes it whenever I send it, and then he puts it on his editorial calendar. So, but for me personally, it's every Monday. And if Carrie writes a post, I'll put it up as soon as I can. So, but yeah, I do have it's every Monday, and but I write every day in Evernote, so I can pick and choose what I want to put.
Okay.
Well, I think we've got one more question from the audience before we let Wade escape our interrogations for the day. Thomas, do you want to throw it up there, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I got it. Missy J, I think, really brings us back full circle for us, and she's asking about. Here, I'll bring it up. She's asking about, in terms of response or in terms of engagement, I think is what she's getting at. Does psychology and the use of psychology have a better effect with social marketing or social blogging? And so I'm gonna nuance that question for you a little bit, Wade. What is the difference between social marketing and social blogging, and does the use of psychology interact with them differently?
I would say that, you know, you can use that. You can use psychology in any form of way. So, as far as social marketing, I would think of that as uh, curating content. I think it's all social marketing. Whether I'm promoting my post or I'm promoting something off plusyourbusiness.com. There's a plug for Stan. But you know, and it all depends on the image. It all depends on what you say in your description. And so, yeah, I believe everything is linked to a psychological response. I truly believe you don't just open a doorknob. You open a doorknob with intent to go get something. There's a process with that. So with social marketing or social blogging, I think that's basically the same. It works the same way.
I would agree with that. I think I can hear a buzzer going off in the background, which signifies that we've hit the end of the show. But before, so we're going to go and say our goodbyes now. I'll kick off the goodbyes with the one and the only Carolyn Capern.
Well, it has been a pleasure to listen in on this. Always glad to talk to you, Wade. You've got a fantastic story, and you've obviously come a long way since you started this journey. I have to say, I read your post on Convince and Convert on the Lord of the Rings and content the other day, and it was probably one of the best pieces of yours I've read yet.
Awesome. Thank you.
It really was something, and so I appreciate you coming on to share all your experiences with our viewers. It's been, I think, a really informative show. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
100%. 100%.
I enjoyed it.
Good.
And Thomas, where can our viewers find you?
Well, you can connect up with me right here at blogphoto.tv, and I'd love to connect up with you there. You can also find me on Google Plus and send me a message. I'd love to chat. And been a blast chatting with you again, Wade. I was lucky enough. Wade kicked off my other recent show, Social Theory, and so twice in 1 week, I feel I have been overwhelmed.
Oh man, there's some stupid stuff in that show. You have to watch that. I don't know when to shut up sometimes.
I guess I didn't
find you.
I guess I didn't get to say that where I went to, where anyone can find me. I'm blogging at ct-social.com. Actually, I took the challenge publicly to blog every day this year. So if you want to follow my ongoing attempts to do that, that's where you can find me. And I'm really excited. I'm going to put in a plug now for the next Blogging Warfare show. We're going to be bringing on Anthony Bencomo, nicknamed Biggie, who's a friend of Thomas's and mine here locally from the blogging community in Florida. He owns a site called Deli Fresh Threads, and it's all about two things, sandwiches and T-shirts, and specifically the combination. So he's going to be coming on to talk with us about blogging outside the lunchbox. And I'll leave the event in the comment thread here for this show.
I like the sound of that combination. I'm looking forward to that show. As we're wrapping up this show, Wade, please say your advice to our ever-expanding global audience.
Well, I'm so thankful that you guys asked me to come on. I'm sorry I don't sound 100%, but I think the brain is at 100% today. As far as I know, it is. I would love for each and every one of you guys to go to wadeharman.com/subscribe and press the Make a Friend button and send me a couple of emails. That'll put you on my email list, my insiders list. And I'm going to be doing something at the end of February, 1st of March, that's going to make you want to be on that anyway. I'm going to ramp it up. I'm going to do a little contest. So get on that email list, and thanks for coming.
Well, I hope I win because I'm already on that insider list. And for any of you who want to go and try get on my insider list, you can head to robertryan.ie where you can find out more than you'll ever want to know about me and what I do. But until next time, the Blogging Warfare team reassemble to slowly but surely take over the blogging world and help you guys take it over too, we will bid you adieu. Take care now.